Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Building Systems in Office 365. Thank you all for joining us today. As some of you might already be aware, we just go through a few housekeeping rules to start off with, and then we'll go into the presentation. So we will be recording this and making it available for you afterwards. If you've got any questions during the presentation session, please put your hand up, use the live chat, or if Joel asks if there's any questions, just make sure that you unmute yourself first. The slides will be shared after, and then there'll be a link to the next webinar, a feedback form, and obviously the video will be shared as well. So there shouldn't be any more interruption. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Joel.
Cheers, Gary. Thank you very much. Thanks everybody for joining. Much appreciated. For those of you who have come back, thank you very much for returning to our webinars. Hopefully you find them useful. So today's webinar then is about building systems in Office 365, more specifically PowerApps and model-driven apps as well. So we'll come on to that later on and kind of show you the difference and just a bit of an overview of the solutions that are available to you. And then I'll just show you around a model-driven app that we've been building over the last few weeks, and just kind of show you how we set it up, how we build it. As Geraint says there, we're going to record this session so you can refer back to it. So when you're building your own apps or deciding which route to go down, you can refer back to this, and reference back the material that we present here today. As Geraint said, anybody who wants to ask a question or stop me, please do. Just jump off mute and interject, or raise your hand on the Teams application itself, and I will do my best to answer your questions. One of the things I would say is that we really do like questions. We know sometimes it's quite hard to kind of ask a question, but if you could make an effort to drop a question throughout the session in the chat box, that would be really much appreciated. Thank you for that. So building systems in Office 365. So iCoTech, then just a bit of a summary about us. So apologies for people who have already seen this, but just to let you know, so we're a small team, as you can see, based in Cardiff in South Wales, but we have capabilities in Power BI, the Power Platform, and Office 365, and all things PPM solutions as well. So Aaron's our delivery manager, and he's pretty much the linchpin, and is really busy delivering some pretty cool projects at the moment across our client base. So our service landscape, what do we do? So we're a Microsoft implementation partner. We specialize in PPM solutions, so Project Online, Microsoft Project and Project for the Web. But we also do other things like the Power Platform, Power Automate, Dynamics 365, Teams, SharePoint, and SharePoint migrations, and Power BI as well for data visualization. And then, of course, we support our partners in using those tools. So we've got a number of key support relationships where we've delivered and configured solutions, but we're on hand through a kind of service desk type approach to fix any issues or make any incremental changes on the service that's been delivered. So our history, just by way of background, so I started off in PMO in Welsh Water, did a short stint as a project manager in Lloyds Banking Group, and then spent a long time in Babcock International Group, delivering projects and portfolios of change across the globe. I then jumped out into the consultancy role, which was really the first consultancy role of iCoTech, which was with Companies House, and we supported them through their major transformational change journey. And then iCoTech was really born, start January 2018, where we took through a number of other customers through that similar journey, Department of Business, Energy, Industrial Strategy, always get that one wrong, Intellectual Property Office, Office for National Statistics, and Betty's and Taylors. So, a diverse range of customers there. We are working with a number of other customers as well, so we probably need to update this slide at some point. Geraint, I'll take an action to update that after this call. Okay, so PowerApps, what is it? So, what is the PowerApps suite? I'm not expecting you to read all those words, and I'm not going to read all those words either, but it's just some things that jump out on the page for me. So PowerApps is available within Office 365. It is actually the underpinning, the foundation of what Dynamics 365 is built on as well. So if you're used to using Dynamics 365, you'll be familiar with what's called a model-driven app. There's lots of logic, there's lots of workflow you can build into these applications. And it is you'll hear Microsoft talk about low code, no code. So it's not about developing applications using code. It's actually about using user interfaces to build these applications in a kind of click and drop approach. But they are really, really powerful. And we have solved a lot of use cases, a lot of business problems, building these applications. And how I like to articulate these applications is that it's basically a toolkit. So it's Microsoft is saying, here's a product, here's a toolkit. Now go and build your business solutions on top of those tools. So rather than taking a product like Dynamics, which has all those business solutions in it, and they've done a lot of work in terms of functionally developing these systems. What Microsoft have done is given us the Power Platform and the Power App and solution, and said, now you can go and build your own business solutions. So whether it's a holiday booking app, a HR system, a CRM system, a leave request system, or a project system, which I'll show you later on for delivering projects, you have this platform that you're able to then go and consume, and with a little bit of knowledge and understanding and a bit of process, you can build these applications from the ground up using minimal code. And that's how I like to articulate it. One of the other things that we talk about as well is when we say Power Apps, for some reason in industry, there's this relationship with a Power App being a mobile phone app. So whenever I talk to organizations, I say, well, that could be done through a Power App. They go, well, it's not, I don't want it on a phone. And I have to explain that just because it's an app doesn't mean it's on a phone. It can be on a desktop. It can be, on a tablet. It's a really powerful solution or engine. So it's interesting just to explain and reference that a Power App isn't specifically a mobile phone app. It's an application that we can build, or you can build from the ground up. Okay, so with that then, there are two distinct types of applications. There are canvas applications. So this is, as you see on the screen here, very much a user interface. So yes, can be portrayed on a phone or a tablet, can also be shown on a desktop screen. But this is where you really want to be in control of the UI of the application itself. So this example here, you've got pictures on the screen, you've got buttons or toggles, you've got search bars, a map. This is really customizable. You really do start with a blank canvas and then start adding your features onto that application itself. This is really good if you wanted to build a custom, holiday application. You have other services you can build into that as well, such as kind of leave request systems. And I'll just show you a really simplistic application when I log on to my phone on Teams, which I should have done at the start of the meeting. So apologies for not doing that. But what I'll do is just log onto my phone, share my screen, and just give you a quick idea of what a kind of Power App looks like essentially. On a canvas. So share my phone screen. Sorry, really should have done this before. Start broadcast. Bear with me 2 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Don't know what it counts down. But essentially, a Power App is, effectively a Canvas app. Sorry, is an app that you can consume on your phone. So this is my mobile phone. Very simplistic, holiday request app. This is it was built a couple of days ago just for articulation of this meeting, but effectively you can build a holiday request system. So I'm Aaron, I've got a holiday absence and this is my start and finish date, and I submit that then, and it goes into a catalog of holidays that you can effectively produce here. So that's a Canvas app, very simplistic in a nutshell. Stop sharing. There we go. So that's a Canvas app, and as you see there, this is quite a good and polished Canvas app. My example that I built on a Friday afternoon wasn't so polished, but essentially, it's what it says on the tin. Really, it's a canvas that you can configure to meet your requirements. So the other type of app is a model-driven app, and you can see here on the screen, this is much more like a system, like an application that you would use on the desktop or on the browser. So of course, this is Dynamics, but it is a model-driven app underneath it, developed in Power Apps, that is being surfaced through Dynamics with all the features of Dynamics. So Dynamics 365 and Power Apps are the same thing. the technology that's used to produce a Office Dynamics 365 solution is the same technology we use and you can use to develop a model-driven app. They're inherently more complicated because they need relationships, entities, data sets to work. A Canvas app is much more like a front end to a SharePoint list. So this is a model-driven app. So effectively, this is used model-driven apps are used to surface content through Dynamics 365. And the same technology you can consume to build apps that look like this, which is pretty impressive. And once you find out how to do this, the possibilities there are really endless, and you can make some really professional looking applications relatively simply. Is my point. Obviously a Canvas app, you start from the ground up, so you have to be quite graphical and have that UI interface building skill set, which is not everybody does have that. Whereas if you wanted to build a leave app, you can do it quite easily in this, and it comes with all the user interface features, the dashboards, the pie charts, and all the buttons and all that kind of stuff in there already. So that's a model-driven app, a lot more powerful, a lot more like a database-driven system with multiple entities, multiple relationships, that kind of thing. So I have a demo of that, a model-driven app that we've built at the end of this session. So another app type is called a portal, so a PowerApp portal. And this is effectively an external website that you can surface to a community of individuals. And you can surface content to this in the same way in which you surface content through a Canvas app. But it's a really interesting tool. It's actually really cost effective as well. I think it's about £150 per month, as long as you don't have more than 1,000 interactions per day. So it's a really cost effective solution. And you can sign in using LinkedIn, Facebook, or you can link into an external party's external Active Directory, or just give somebody a unique key to log in as well. So there's multiple ways of authenticating into that portal, but that gives you the ability to surface forums, questionnaires, events. If you want to send work packages to an external partner or company, you could do that through here. Send them a notification and then ask them to sign into the portal. You can also link this to your website as well. So if you had a small company where you had a website and you wanted to put some sort of invoice system, we've done that before using the portal technology as well. So that's really, really powerful. That's something that I'm not sure many people know about. But again, it's a really, really easy, cost-effective way of building what can look like a really comprehensive and complex website. The other thing to add here is all those other 365 services like forms, lists, images, all those other things, Microsoft Forms, you can surface through this. So in the future, when you're joining an iCoTech webinar, you'll be sent a link to our portal, which is currently in development, which you can give us your feedback on using that technology, and that goes into the Microsoft Forms suite then, which is really, really powerful. Okay, so. Just kind of what can it do, just to put some context. So some examples that you can use cases. So you can have a project management app if you really wanted to. You can use a Canvas app to drive days. That can be at the back end could be a list in SharePoint. Through a flow, you could then report on that in having a flow for alerts via emails. You could then report on that using Power BI. So it's a very simplistic diagram story that you could and you can take that architecture or that outline and apply that to your business or your specific need, whether it's a holiday request app or whether it's a HR system, and you've got new starters or leavers, or even Ideas Hub. An Ideas Hub is quite useful, where you can use a Canvas app to ask your employees to submit an idea. It goes into a SharePoint list. You can triage it then through a board. They approve it, and you can report to a senior stakeholder group on the number of ideas that have been submitted throughout the last year, and where those ideas are in the continuous improvement lifecycle, for example. Okay, so that's one example. So you can connect this to external APIs. So this is about having a Bing search, so you can search browsers, search engines within the tool itself. So you can drag calls and research on people or results on individual searches. Maybe it's people, maybe it's weather, whatever it might be. But you can use the cognitive services in Azure APIs to bring that data back into a Power App. And realistically, it's just trying to paint the picture of what you can do. So if you had a really big data set you wanted to challenge, you wanted to query that data set, you could do that in a Power App. I was going to say that's how powerful it is, but it's too cliche. I got to stop saying power. So how you could surface that to your clients then? So you could surface that through mobile, through portals, or through desktop. It's just another example of what you can do with the service. And this is based on a common data service as well. So the connectors are pretty endless in the types of services you can integrate with. So just by way of more examples, just to bring it to life, because I think the challenge of the Power App is just actually finding the right use case for people to use these. But this is a kind of an activity going through a series of stages, like a project going through a series of stages. But you've got descriptions, you've got state checklists, you've got ideas that are contributing to this activity, and then you can surface graphics on here as well. So one of the benefits is you don't have to go to Power BI as in a workspace or an app. You can surface those Power BI reports into the application itself, which is really, really good. Project delivery. So any of you that are into activity tracking, continuous improvement, project management, it's really, really useful if you're doing light touch project management. So if you're doing schedules with one or two lines, and tracking of change or innovation ideas, you can use it for that as well. And I'll come on to show you our little example of that in a moment. So these are the dashboards that you can surface in the application itself. So not using Power BI, so you don't have to pay for the licenses, but similar technology, you can pull together these visuals and surface them within the application itself. And you can see what I mean if you on this image here, how it looks like a system as opposed to an app, although it is built on PowerApps. I think it's really important to point that out. One of the things that I would say, just by way of advice, is if you're going down this route and you're going to go and build your first Power App, which I'm hoping some of you are, or maybe you've built some before, and maybe you've built Canvas apps, and now you're going to move into model apps. One of the things I would highly recommend is doing a schema. So the first thing to do is to go and build your schema. So old school database design. Think about what tables you need, what fields you need, and what your parent and child relationships are. And then think about which of your tables are actually surfaceable to the user and which are in the back end and which are not being visible to the user. And this is the schema for the solution I'm about to show you. Effectively, it's taking all the parameters of the project management world at a light touch, high level. This isn't built for delivering plans that are 200 lines long. This tool is used for 10 or 15 lines in a schedule, and some management of risks at a high level. It's more of a continuous improvement project delivery solution. But nonetheless, you can see how complicated it can get. So my advice is to always start at the schema and understand exactly how the solution will interact. And that's just that's a good starting point, really. So hopefully I've given you an idea of how you can use it, what the differences between a Canvas app, a model app, and a portal is. And now I'm just going to show you and bring it to life, really. I like that transition. I'm glad it wasn't a picture of my daughter, which it was a few weeks ago. Baby designs. So Power Apps. So if everybody's on Office 365 at the moment, you can go to make.powerapps.com, and you'll have exactly this. You'll have this pane here that comes up. You can start from Canvas apps from blank, model-driven apps from blank, or portals from blank. You can also look at templates as well. So you can build all these templates from Canvas apps. See, it says it's a Canvas app, so it's more about a UI interface. Furthermore, you can start from a model-driven app as well as a template. So innovation change, that's the template I was showing you earlier. Asset checkout, these are all the templates you can start from, and you can relatively quickly get yourself up and running on a model or Canvas-driven app. Okay. You can get data from other services, so you can get data from SharePoint, from Excel Online, and the other data sources that are available in the common data service as well. That might take a while to load, but yeah, you get the drift. You can add alternative connections here. So Business Central, other services, the FTP. So if you want to do old school, you've got a bunch of data or files sat on an FTP server, you can do it through here. Google Drive, Google Sheets. I have to admit, we do use Google Sheets from time to time to export data from other services. So yeah, you can really go as detailed as you want. I'd probably suggest, if it's your first time, start off simple and connect with a SharePoint site or a SharePoint list. One of the things that is important to note is that you've got a set of entities. Now, these entities are effectively the services or the tables that sit in the back end of the system itself, and that's why we draw a schema. So we're really keen to understand what the schema is, and all those blocks on the schema are the entities. One of the things, just a word of warning as well, is whenever you come into this entities page on PowerApps, it automatically sets the default and not all. So there's a lot more entities across your environment than are actually visible at first. So I have seen people being stuck for ages trying to search for, the entity itself and not actually finding the project entity, for example, and being quite frustrated about that. But as soon as you go on to all and then search for a project, you can see the project entity now appears. So it's just a little bit of a trick. Another thing to think about as well is environment. So you can set up your environments to have a test environment, a dev environment, so you can stage these environments, so you can mess around basically and try and break it, which is something that we actively challenge our partners to do and our customers to do. Now, option sets are effectively lookups. So if you're using SharePoint and a SharePoint list, you might have built lookups before. These are referenceable entities or option sets that you can call on multiple times. So you can set a lookup to have a certain number of values, count or amount in this example here. More intrinsic. Lookups like RAG, so red, amber, green. These are all the values. So we're building up the lookups for all our fields to use. One of the other tricks here is that if you've got a field that you're going to go and create in an entity, you need to build the option set first. You can't build the field to say a program type and then go and build the option set. You have to do the option set first, then go and build the field and point the field at that option set. Data flows, I won't go into this in too much detail today, but this is how you can create a number of different data flows using Power Automate or Flow. Again, you can export to data lakes and you can build yourself custom connectors if you wish, although I would probably advise against doing it. It's just painful to do, and you have to, quite technical, REST API, JSON being used, etc. So yes, that's one. So the other thing to think about as well is the solutions. So solutions are the container effectively. So you have an underlying application that you're accessing it from a user perspective, but the solution is effectively this concatenation of the entities that you require. And what you can do with this solution then is you can export the solution, you can migrate the solution, you can clone the solution, or you can patch it as well. So if you need to, if you've got a dev environment and a test and a live environment, you can patch those solutions through those staging environments effectively. So I hope by now you can see, wow, this is quite powerful. I mean, the art of the possible here is a lot more than, say, a year ago when somebody said to me, I'm going to use a Power App for that, and your brain says, well, it's just a mobile phone app. Actually, PowerApps is much more, yeah, I can't stop but saying it, powerful than one would initially assume anyway. So entities. So I'm going to show you the project entity then, because it's one that I'll come on to demo the solution in a short while. But if you're used to using SharePoint, you'll see the familiarity with the fields and the terminology used here. So these are the fields that are used in the project entity. So, you can see we've added custom fields here like committed cost. And it is as simple as adding a field, a display name. So, you can choose the display name, the system name as well. Another trick is don't have any spaces in your system name. It won't let you, but some people do try and put spaces in there, and it will fail. So don't do that. Keep the names in without spaces. It's going to shout at me because I want to close it. Yes, I do. I want to add the field again. played around with the field itself. So here we go. So like in SharePoint, when you select the field type, you would select, what is the data entry language form look like? Is it an auto number? Is it a URL, an email address, a ticker symbol, a date, a currency, an option set here, see, or actually a multiple set. So we've got two options, not 4 or 5. You might want to do an option set within the field itself, although I don't suggest doing that. You can add a file, so you can add attachment to it as well. You can really do whatever you want. So multi-line text here. You can select whether it's recommended, optional, or required, and you can put a description around it as well. Test field. Furthermore, you can add other security items to it as well. So test description. I think I've already got description in here, see. So I'll call it test description. I'll save the field. It goes into the entity itself. There we go, test description. It highlights it for me. So that's the field I've just added into the system now. So you've got relationships as well. So I talked about the schema and how these are related. I won't go into that in much more detail because it does get quite complicated, but this is where you would create your relationships, your many-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many relationships with other entities across a system. Your business rules, we don't really tend to do that at this level, and then your views. So views are effectively, I'll come on to show you that in a minute. I want to leave, yes. So this is the view designer. This is the new designer, but effectively you can see how a list in SharePoint can be used where you can drag and drop other activities. So I think, is that the test? I don't think it's the same field, but you could drag the field that you create onto the view itself. All right, and then you can save and publish that view to the application. All right, so that's how easy it is to move these things around in the system itself. Okie dokie. So if I go back to the Power App, publish that. Did I publish it? I'm going to go back to make PowerApps. I'm now just going to go and show you the system itself. So if I'm a user, you've published your first model-driven app. You can go into the system, select project, which is the app I've just edited, and you can see the system in its entirety. All right. So here you've got programs, because we've got programs in this space. So we've set up a few test programs. And you can see the type of content that you can surface. So you can surface codes, descriptions, drop downs, SRO lookups. You can, other drop downs that you want to capture, in your application. You can really go as detailed or as simplistic as you want. In this example, we've got a life cycle, so you can show projects moving through stages, which is, you can put prerequisites in place. So a flow needs to happen in order for you to move to the next stage. Or other tick boxes, etc. So you can also create other entities like projects. So in this example, we've got a number of projects in the portfolio. So this is the view that I configured earlier, and you can see that test is there. See, test is on the right hand side there because that's the field I put into the view earlier on. And then it's basically like a portfolio dashboard, but a very simplistic version for this use case. And you can effectively build your projects and all your changes, fill out all these fields that you can see we've added, and then move projects through the various stages. Then it's telling me off. Should have done that earlier. So you can link it to programs. Where's the other field? Oh, somewhere. Can't spot it. Sorry, let me just save it for now. Shouting at me because I haven't filled in a custom field. So yeah, you can add risks into the tool as well. So you've got related entities now. So you would add a new risk into this view, or work packages as well. So you can, whatever you want, you can build. Is my point I'm trying to get across really, is that whether you've got a continuous improvement activity and you want to track all the lessons learned associated with it or the benefits associated with it, you can do that using this service. We've pulled through Project for the Web into this, so you can see Project for the Web is running now in the background. It does take a lot of time to load, but it will now hopefully show you a Gantt chart and some task lists that you can add in new tasks here. Task 1, task 2, and you can, it's quite intuitive really. You can really go as far as detailed or as simplistic as you want. It's up to you really in your specific requirement. So we've got a resources tab as well. I am going to discard those changes because it's shouting me for something. I've missed something somewhere, but we've built our resource pool up here so you can assign resources to the solution itself. So that's just a really simple project app that we've created just to manage the execution and delivery of projects and the reporting of risks and issues. But as I say, when you go into your project environment, you'll have a number of kind of out of the box solutions that are available to you that you can go and consume. And what I would say is just familiarize yourself with the entities and the option sets that the solution is using. And you effectively then could go and modify those fields and those processes. Again, you can use flow. So you saw earlier I was moving projects through stages, or attempting to anyway. But you can run flows to have approval processes at this stage. And I think that's what it's trying to do here. Darren's obviously messing with it as we speak. So yeah, you can use Power Automate to make this as complex or as simple as you want, really. Okay. So that is really it from my perspective. I've given you an overview of what the difference is between a Canvas app, a model-driven app, and a portal. I've just advised that actually you should start with the schema. So if you're going to build one of these applications in your business, then just try and think about things at the top level. So what are those tables of data that you need to report on, and how do they relate to each other? And then it's as simple as creating a new app, a new model app or Canvas app, depending on which one you want to do. And you could take that through the process. Then it's quite intuitive. And as I say, you can just build these applications as and when you need to. All right. So has anybody got any questions?